Do you ever feel shy or uncomfortable with your English? Like you know you're making mistakes, but you don't know what they are or how to fix them? Hi, I'm Raleigh, and in this video series, I am going to show you some of the most common mistakes that my students make with their speaking and their writing and grammar. And I'm also going to show you how to fix them. And before we start that, I'm going to show you some secret keys to English sentence structure that will make it so much easier to understand my lessons for you, and also any lesson that you ever hear about grammar or writing in English will be easier after you learn these secret keys to English structure. So let's begin. I have a picture here. Please tell me what you see. I'm going to ask you a lot of questions in these videos, and I want you to give me the answer out loud. So, what do you see? Can you make a sentence about the picture? Maybe you said something like, a young artist is drawing. In this sentence, do you see a verb? The verb is drawing. And how do you know that's a verb? Well, lots of people say that verbs are actions. And in some cases, this is true. This is an action, for example, drawing. You can see her action. Eating, running. All of these are verbs that make actions, but not all verbs are actions. We also have verbs like love, enjoy, know, like. And these verbs aren't actions. So there's a better way that you can find a verb in a sentence that will always help you find the verb. If you watched my first video in this series, do you remember how to find verbs? To find the verb, you're going to look for the word in the sentence that changes tense. This means that changes time. So for example, right now, she is drawing, in the picture, is drawing. We can also say she draws. We can also say she drew in the past. Or we can say will draw in the future. So draw, will draw, is drawing. This is our verb because it changes tense. Very good. And now I want to know, do you see any nouns in the sentence? The word artist is a noun. And we learned that nouns are people, places, things, and ideas. Now, if you want a more detailed lesson about how to find verbs, nouns, adjectives, and adverbs, make sure you watch the first video in this series, okay? So in this sentence, artist is the noun, and it's a special noun that we call the subject of the sentence. So a subject is a noun or a pronoun that does the verb. A noun or a pronoun that does the verb in the sentence. And to find the subject, you're going to ask yourself, who with the verb, or what does the verb? For example, who is drawing? A young artist is drawing. Artist is drawing. That is the subject of our sentence. You might also be wondering, hey, we have some more words in that sentence. We also have a and young. So let's talk about those words. Do you remember what kind of word young is from the first video? Young is an adjective. And we learned that adjectives do what? Adjectives describe nouns. Can you think of any other nouns to describe an artist? You might say creative. Someone that has a lot of ideas is creative. You might say talented. If someone is naturally good at something, he or she is talented. Curious. Someone very interested with a lot of questions. These are all adjectives that can describe the noun artist. And how about the word a? A is an article. Articles are small words that go with nouns to tell us if it's a general or a specific noun. Do you know any more articles in English? We also have a, and, some, and the. These are the most common articles in English. So now you know how to identify the subject and the verb, and this is going to help you with so much understanding of grammar and writing. So let's go back and practice a little more, all right? So we have a sentence here. Actually, this young artist from the video is my niece Kenzie, and she and I spent the day together recently. So I want to tell you about our day and look at some examples of sentences and sentence structure. So on our girls' day, I picked Kenzie up in my car. So I can say, I drove, or Raleigh drove. Can you find the verb? Well, if you said drove, you are correct. Because remember, the verb is the word that changes tense. I could say drives, will drive in the future. And now let's find the subject. Remember, the subject is the noun or pronoun that does the verb. And what do you ask yourself to find the subject? You're going to ask who with the verb. So for example, who drove? Raleigh, that's right. Raleigh drove. That's our subject. Raleigh is our subject. Is this a complete sentence in English? Actually, it is. Raleigh drove is a complete sentence all by itself. Because in English, we need two things to have a full sentence. So we need, in English, a subject, and we need a verb. All English sentences have a subject and a verb. Now, some English sentences need more than a subject and a verb, but all sentences need a subject and a verb. And in many cases, that's all you need to have your full, complete sentence. Now, if you're missing a subject or a verb, that's a mistake in writing, and it can be a mistake in speaking too. So stick around, we're going to practice this more, and in the next video, I will also show you some examples of common sentences that are missing their subject. Remember, I said that the subject could be a noun or a pronoun. Pronouns are words that replace nouns like I, you, she, he. So if we have this sentence, I drove, that's also a full sentence. And now our subject is I. So we can say Raleigh drove, or we can say I drove. Either way is okay. Moving on to our next sentence, Kenzie didn't drive. So let's start by finding our verb. I always recommend to find the verb first when you're analyzing sentences. Verb is didn't drive. Very good. And the subject? Remember, we're going to ask who with the verb. So who didn't drive? Kenzie. That's our subject. Kenzie played music. So in the car, she wasn't driving, she was playing music. So Kenzie played music. Our verb? Very good, played. Now, remember we said the subject is a noun or a pronoun. So, but in this sentence, how many nouns do you see? Are you sticking with me, saying the answers out loud? We have two nouns here. So we have Kenzie and music. They're both nouns. So how are we going to figure out which one of these nouns is our subject? Well, remember the subject does the verb, right? The subject is the noun that does the verb, and we're going to ask, who played or what played? So in this case, the music didn't do anything. Kenzie got her iPhone, she paired it with my Bluetooth, and she played music. So Kenzie is our subject because Kenzie played. Kenzie played music. So how about this other word though, music? This noun is another special noun in our sentence that we call an object. So music is the object of our verb or the object of our sentence. So a couple things about the object. First, the object is always a noun, just like the subject is always a noun. And to find the object, you're going to ask what, because it's a noun. You can say what or who, but right now, what, with the subject and the verb. What with the subject and the verb. So in this case, what with the subject, Kenzie. So what did Kenzie and the verb play? What did Kenzie play? Music. That's right, Kenzie played music. So as I said, knowing how to identify your subject and your verb and your object in your sentence is going to help you clear up so many of your grammar mistakes and your writing mistakes, your speaking mistakes in English. And I'm going to show you more examples of those mistakes and how to fix them in just a little bit. But first, let's review. So far we have learned all English sentences have a subject and a verb. And we also learned to find the verb. How do you find the verb? Tell me. To find the verb, you're going to look for words that change tense or change time. So for example, Kenzie played in the past could become Kenzie plays always in the present, or Kenzie will play in the future. How do we find the subject? Well, the subject is a noun or a pronoun, and to find the subject, we're going to ask who with the verb or what with the verb. For example, who played? Who played? And how about the object? The object is a noun or a verb? The object is also a noun. And to find the object, we are going to ask who with the subject and the verb, or what with the subject and the verb. So for example, who did Kenzie play, or what did Kenzie play? Music. Very good. So tell me one more time, what is always a noun? We learned a couple of things are always nouns. The subject is always a noun, and the object is always a noun. Excellent work. So let's do a little more practice, okay? So I picked Kenzie up on my girls' day and I took her to one of my favorite restaurants in Orlando, Florida, where we live. It's called Black Rooster Taqueria. They make amazing tacos. And I took this picture of the cooks making our lunch. So in this picture, they are making lunch. So to analyze the sentence, we're going to first find the verb. We're going to first find the verb. You tell me. Are making is the verb. Very good. And the subject? They. They is the subject because who's making? Who's making something? They. And the object. What are they making? So what with the subject, they, the verb are making. What are they making? Tacos. That's the object of our sentence. Then we paid the friendly cashier. We're going to find the verb first. Paid, because it can change tense, change time. Will pay, pays. And the subject, who paid? We paid, right? The cashier did not pay, unfortunately, at this restaurant. They did not pay for us. We paid. We are the subject. And who did we pay? Or what did we pay? The cashier. So the cashier is the object. Very good. And remember, we also learned that there can be a few other words with that noun. So we have the word friendly. What kind of word is friendly? Friendly is an adjective describing cashier. Adjectives describe nouns. And what kind of word is the? It's an article. So remember, we put those articles and adjectives with nouns and groupings in our sentence. So we put it there with the object. If you said cashier is the object, you're correct. If you said the friendly cashier is the object, you are correct. I want to ask you something. Have you noticed that in every single sentence we've looked at, we have the same order? What comes first, the verb, the subject, or the object? The subject comes first. In basic English sentence foundation, the subject comes first, and then the verb, and then the object. That's right. So that brings me to the second mistake that I see people commonly make with English grammar, and that is they mix up the order of the words in their sentences. So in English, we have a very specific order that we always use with our English sentences. Now, sometimes there are reasons why we might flip the verb and the subject, but we do that for very specific reasons. In every single case, it's either this way or it's this way. It's never optional, okay? So we're going to talk about reasons for why we might mix up some words in the next video that I have prepared for you. And we'll look at some examples of how to fix that, okay? But before we move on to the next video, let's wrap up this video with a review, and I will also tell you how you can get some wonderful more practice with these things that you learned here. So, you tell me, in English, every sentence has a subject and a verb. Great work. And in English, the sentence order is always first subject, then verb, and then object. Great work today. So, if you want more practice, click on the link below this video and I will send you a wonderful worksheet where you can do some more practice analyzing sentences, finding the subject and the verb and the object. Remember, this is going to help you with so many grammar mistakes that we will be talking about in my next video. And also check below because you'll see a link to the second video where you can learn more about English sentence structure and also more about the mistakes that people make and how to fix them. So great work today, and I'll see you soon. Bye.